After 5 painful years in college, 5 more years as an engineer, I quit my 9 to 5 job as an engineer, working remotely, by the way, essentially stopping all the income coming in and hoping for the best. Now, the question is, did it work? Do I regret it? Am I filming this video in the office of a homeless shelter? In this video, I'm going to tell you whether I think it's a good idea, my personal experience so far, how much money I made on my first full month in sales, how much money I made on my first 5.5 months in sales, more specifically, what industry did I jump in, and finally, my tips in case you're thinking about doing something similar like this, possibly not ending homeless. Okay, so first you have to understand why I did it. So why I quit. The reason for this is I always felt like I could do more with my life. And by the way, having a job as a structural engineer, making 105,000 is not too bad, especially remotely. But I always felt like I just didn't feel like I would always work at an office, or like there was some other things that looked nicer to me, more fun. Obviously engineering is very reliable, but I just thought I was built for more excitement. And I saw people, by the way, younger than me, with so much shine on their faces, doing what they were doing advertisements, doing sales. They were talking about how exciting it is to do sales. I see them on the phone in a cafeteria talking to a client. That just looks so cool to me. It's just like so free. I remember that day when I saw a guy pacing back and forth, by the way. I was touring a building that I was going to live in, and he was just pacing back and forth and like doing this. Like he closed the sale. Like I could tell. That moment, I thought to myself, there's something else I could do here because I don't think I'm chained to this job. So, I also had a friend who was doing sales, and he was an engineer, but he was doing sales in tech. And that kind of motivated me too. I was like, man, how can I get in sales? I tried at my job and I couldn't get in, the sales department. They said they would let me know once something opens up. And I was like, oh, that's going to take too much time. And then what I ended up doing, because that was my friend's advice, he said, go to your company and ask them to see if you could go to the sales department. That would have been great. It just didn't happen. So that's what motivated me, basically seeing my friend doing it as well. Now, even though I was making 110,000, by the way, and remotely, which is very important to know, because having a remote job is very cool. Like I didn't have no boss, I didn't have no office to go to. I was making pretty good money. I was well respected as an engineer, so no problems there. And every week I would have a paycheck. But I know it sounds ridiculous, but I always wanted to be a entrepreneur. And you see people, by the way, that make $250,000 and they quit their jobs. I know a few people and they pursue entrepreneurship. It's crazy, right? So 110 is not that much, but not a lot of people make 110. So, that's why I guess I wanted to quit. Now, what was my breaking point in my great idea to jump into sales? Um, they sent me an email saying that, and by the way, my supervisor at my job was amazing. I like that guy. I thought he always deserved that job. Like we had a different supervisor before, which was nice too, but I really wanted him to win, because very nice guy. Unfortunately, I was messing up a lot, at the end of my career as an engineer, I guess. Um, I was making mistakes. And the reason for that is I was never a bad engineer. I'm an amazing structural engineer. But my heart would not allow me to do it at all. Like I just couldn't pull it through. I just did not have the capacity to put my emotions or at least be responsible. Like I was at that breaking point. You cannot blame me for this. Like I work all day now, like since I wake up till I go to bed, and I'm very invested in what I'm doing. Look at me right now. I'm filming this video. So I have heart for this and for the stuff that I do. I have other businesses too. But for engineering and sitting in my own cubicle at home, it's just, and hearing that sound of Microsoft Teams, just, I don't know. I was at a breaking point. So seeing that email where he said that the company was only allowing 3% merit increases and they were taking a point off, 1% off because of the many mistakes I was making. I was like, wait a minute. So it's only 6%, only 2% that I'm going to make more. I was like, that means nothing. I was like, one whole year to go up 2% in my income. I don't know, that just didn't sound that great. Even though 110 is amazing, by the way. But that was the breaking point. That's the moment when I decided to do it. Um, I've been wanting to do this for so many years, by the way, this entrepreneurship thing. But it was hard having a job, having that heaviness on top of me, that responsibility of 4 hours a week plus, didn't allow me to do it. It just I couldn't do both. I just couldn't do both. I don't know if other people have experienced this as well, but I just couldn't do both. It was one or the other for me, at least. I know some people decide to work three jobs, and that's how they do their entrepreneurship before they jump into the real entrepreneurship. For me, it would have been like I have a job and then I do entrepreneurship part time. My brain didn't allow it. It just couldn't do. I couldn't do it. Engineering is pretty hard. Obviously, I moved to Miami. You know, this is when I did it. By the way, this is when I saw the guy pacing back and forth. This was in Miami when I first moved in, and I just saw the different type of people here. I'm from Boston, and I love Boston. By the way, I'm Boston all the way. But unless it's the Inter Miami club, because now I'm all about Inter Miami and Messi here. But being here and seeing other people do this, and like it's just so many of them. And if you ask them, almost none of them have a regular job. All my friends, they don't have regular jobs, and I was like, I just felt out of place. Everybody's fit, you know. I'm not fit, but everybody's fit. Everybody's like exercising. They're doing some work. They're chasing their dreams. They're doing business, kind of like LA a little bit, I would say. But that just kind of like pushed me through the edge and finally made the decision to pull the plug. I think I needed something like that. You know, that's why they say move out of your environment, move out of your hometown. And I would agree with that. I don't know if some people don't see it because they haven't experienced it yet, but I do agree with it 100%. You have to move out. And the reason for that is you have to experience other places, open your mind to possibilities. And that's what happened. So I moved here, and that's what pushed me to have this idea. So what did I do? I emailed, this email, right? Obviously, like had an impact in me. And that was the email here that they decided to take a point off or percent off. Sorry. Um, Also, I just want to read some part of the email here. It says, please continue to work on having a sense of urgency and reviewing all aspects of the quotes and prior to submitting. That's what I was like, man, urgency. Like, I just didn't have it in me anymore. So, what I did is I sent a message on Teams, Microsoft Teams, and I said that pretty much I was quitting, like I spoke on the phone with him, amazing supervisor, by the way. And I just quit. That's it. I didn't have another job lined up. They even asked me like, "Oh, what company are you going to?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm not going to any company." They're like, "Oh, what are you talking about? Engineers are always responsible. What do you mean?" But I didn't have another company lined up. I didn't have another job lined up. I just I just did it. It's incredible, but it's just like I've seen it before, and I couldn't believe it. I was doing it. By the way, the first day ever that yeah, I remember it was a Monday, and I was doing already jumping into the sales world right away. I wasn't wasting any time. I remember that day, I was like, wait a second. I was in a coffee shop with another colleague from sales immediately because I that was the top salesman. And I asked them out. I said, can we have a coffee? I want to find out, how you do what you do. That was my first day, by the way. I asked the top salesman on a coffee date. So we went on a date. Well, actually, no, sorry. We went to get coffee. Okay. I was there and I was like, wait a minute. It's 1 p.m. I can't believe I'm here. I'm like free. And even though when I was doing work as an engineer, I could always go out. Like I said, I didn't have a boss or nothing. Sometimes I would take my phone and I would just go somewhere and I would just have Teams on in case someone needed me. But I would go out all the time. I was living in downtown. So, but for some reason, you have to understand, not having this 9 to 5 on my shoulders, it made me feel truly free for some reason. I don't know if that's how homeless people feel, but I did feel free 100%. So, I was there. I was like, wow, this feels amazing to be here. And, but no income coming in. I didn't know if it was going to work. I didn't know nothing. I didn't choose this industry too, by the way. I just had a friend who was doing it and I just jumped into it. My plan was to quit and then do sales, however I could do sales. And then this opportunity presented itself and I just jumped into it, but it was not the most beautiful opportunity. Like I wasn't looking for it. I wanted it first and then I just did it, right? And then I'll tell you whether it worked in a second. But my first month, by the way, you can probably see here if it worked or not. My first month, I made $21,000 in commissions, meaning that money hit my bank. You could see it here, by the way. If you add these numbers up, that is $21,000. I try to remove all my personal information from this bank account statement, but you can see here that adds up to 21,000. And what is this other 7,000 that I'm talking about that is extra? So the way it worked is in this industry, the way it works is that I make money and then I get 75% of what I deserve, of what I'm owed first. They give me 75%. Then the rest of that commission, they hold it for 9 months and then they give it to me. So basically, it's a 9 month hold. If the client cancels, there's a prorated amount that is given to me. So if they cancel at month number 8, they take out 1 month of that extra. So they prorate it, right? It's a percentage that is taken out. Totally fine. I understand it. So, but in my head, I'm expecting, right? 21, that's $28,000. My first very month, by the way, full time. You can see it here. Then, was it easy? That's the question, right? For me, it was a quick learning curve, by the way, but I know for sure that it's not like that for everybody else because it's hard to learn, specifically this industry. For me, for some reason, because I come from a professional background, I went to school, I'm professional, the way I speak to people is professional. I didn't quit college, I didn't quit high school. I graduated as a structural engineer. So, and I say this to all my clients, by the way, so that immediately I get that respect, that boost in respect when I tell them, oh, by the way, I'm a structural engineer, blah, blah, blah. Immediately they respect me. And that's one of the tricks that I use to get respect from the client right away because they respect an engineer. A salesman, I don't know. I always lead with, oh, this was my profession, by the way, but I also do this, things like that. Things like it was a quick learning curve for me. The rejections, by the way, when I first started was insane. I thought it was myself, and I have a video of I think it was either one of my very first phone calls or one of my very first few phone calls that I filmed. And now that I'm looking at it, yeah, it was definitely me. It was awkward as hell. Holy cow. If you ever do sales, film yourself on the first few sales or phone calls because it's crazy. I couldn't believe it. Right now I'm pretty confident, but before I was not. And now it's like, yeah, I'm pretty confident, but um, you know, the script that I was given, the things that I was told what to say was not working for me. I had to come up with my own style of sales, with my own style of script. So I created my own script for sales. I created my own style. I put my own seasoning into it, which is what you should do. And then it worked out because then I was being myself all of a sudden. And what I thought I should say, I was saying, and it was working. For some reason, I just found a secret formula that worked. My first month was amazing, but my first 5.5 months was great too. I made, my first half a month, I made $5,557. And I was expecting another 1,800 at some point. So, like I said, the pending commissions are given to me after 9 months. So, this was the first half month. That's why I'm saying 5.5 months because it's only like 2 weeks. But already here, you could see I made about probably 7,000 or something. Not too bad, either way. My first half, like in 2 weeks, 7,000. That's crazy. So then the next month, which was August, that is the first full month that we were talking about. This is when I made the money that I showed you before. 21,000 in my bank, 7,000 pending. September, I made $10,000, 337, and I was expecting to get another 3,445. Okay, that was the month of September. You can pause this if you want, and you can read my bank statement here and then add it up for yourself. Then we have October. I made 11,000 hit in my bank, and then 3,682 that was coming in after. November, I made $23,539, and I was expecting 7,846. My second month, by the way, I expected about 31,000, in total. That was the very first time I was ever seeing 30,000 in coming in from I ever made 30,000 in a month. First time. And by the way, as you can see here too, it was the first week that I got $8,900, so almost $9,000 in my bank in 1 week. That was, I believe, 11/14. There's two payments there. If you add them up, it's almost 9,000. If you add up what I was expecting, that's 11,900. That was the very first week I ever broke into this number. Seeing a week of $9,000 is no joke. Like, it's amazing. And then obviously 11,000 if you count the rest that should have been given to me or should be given to me. Now we have December, a little slow here. We only made about $7,000 and we expected 2,400 after. In total, 9,300 after, they give me the commission. This was the lowest month yet because, as you can see, I only had two paychecks. So basically 2 weeks, by the way. The reason for this is because I switched companies. So during this month, we had a pause for like 3 weeks where I didn't do any sales because I switched companies. But again, I made about 7,000 in 2 weeks plus the 2,300 extra. So that makes a total of 73,900, almost $74,000 that hit my bank. And you can see here, this is a pay history from the company, not my bank account, from the company, and where it shows you $73,000, almost 74, for my first 5.5 months, right? And I was expecting to get an extra $24,000, right, after 9 months. But if you divide 74,000 in 5.5 months, that's a lot of money. Some people don't even make 74,000 in a whole year. To make it in half a year, it's amazing. So, in total, I expected $98,545, right? Which was, by the way, almost what I was making as an engineer, because as an engineer, I was making a specific base amount and then I was given a bonus every year, right? Bonus was like 15,000 or something. So in total was about 105, 110,000. And here, expecting to make 98,000 in a whole year, sorry, in 5.5 months, what I used to make as an engineer, it's crazy work. So, but what ended up happening is that because of the nature of this business, remember I told you, if the client cancels, they take money from me, and I have to return some of that commission. So some of the extra commission, not what I had earned already. So what ended up happening is that instead of making 98,000, I ended up making 91,000. So I lost about 7K, but I made 91,000 in 5.5 months. That is insane as hell, right? And if you see that, that's about $16,000 a month that I was earning. About 3,812. Actually, it's more like 4,000, the calculation, but it's about $4,000. We're gonna see in a little bit. I think I may have made a mistake here, but um, making 16,000 a month though, that's like breaking the $10,000 barrier, which I hadn't broken it before, and now I'm breaking it in sales on my very first 5.5 months. Every month I was earning $16,000 in average. That's pretty crazy. That's about 4,000 a week in a regular week. That is insane. So yeah, you can see the number here. I corrected it in the next slide, I guess. Yeah, it was about $4,557 per week when you do the math and how many weeks I got paid. It was about 4,357 per week. I remember this number very well, by the way, because I was making more than 4,000 most of the time, and it was super exciting. Like, um, I never made over 4,000 before. And when I first saw my $4,000 week, it was just, I don't know, I couldn't believe it. It was amazing to make $4,000. So it just hits different. It's just like, I don't know. Now you could go anywhere. You start spending your money like crazy, by the way. I mean, I started buying all sorts of things. I moved to an apartment that was about $5,000 a month to live in. It's 2 bedroom apartment, whatever, one of the top floors, corner view, amazing, the best area in Miami, by the way. So like making 4,000, I remember when I first started making 4,000 a week. That just was a different feeling. And this was me just starting out, by the way. Crazy work. It changed my entire view of life, my entire view of money. It opened my eyes to like new opportunities because there's one thing about talking about money and talking about things you can do. I used to do this a lot with friends in college. We would talk about what things we would do, what we wanted to accomplish. All the talks were about money, but they were just talks. Until you do something, that's when you finally like, okay, now I can do it. It just looks so real once you do it. So for me, it just not only gave me money, but it also opened my eyes to new opportunities, a new sense of like, I can do this. Honestly, the best experience in the world, I would say, you know, but what industry was it? If you ask yourself, it was life insurance for all of those who are wondering. But it doesn't sound sexy at all. It's just an industry that I even heard a friend, by the way, who told me this was before I ever did this because I was not looking to do sales in life insurance, especially. It was a friend who told me before that they had failed and they had worked for about 2 years. And I asked, how much money did you make in a year? And they said about 20,000 or something. I was like, what? And I was like, why? And, and they had about 10 people working with them. So I was like, so wait, you didn't make any money from their sales or your sales? It was so low. And they said that it just was an industry that didn't work for them. And, that was my thinking before even knowing about this industry or the fact that I could even join it. In my head, it was like, I'm not even paying attention to it. So, and by the way, when I started working, I wasn't thinking about that comment. It was only after 3 months when I was like, wait a second. Didn't I have a friend who told me that they failed? And I was like, wait a minute, but I didn't fail. I actually made what they made in a year in my first month. So I was like, wait, why did they fail? I was just wondering, like, wow, that's insane. Like, I didn't fail. Um, but if it was sales, but not online, I don't think I would have done it. You know, like if it was like, if I had to go in person and to people's houses, I don't think you're going to see me doing that at all. You're definitely not going to see me doing that. I can guarantee you that. I may meet a client at a nice coffee shop. Let's meet here. This is a beautiful coffee shop. I'm going to be there with my laptop and we're going to do business. Only serious people though. I'm not doing that though. Like even that, it's like I don't wanna because I can close a sale literally on my computer, on my phone, on a phone call for like an hour and a half, and I'm closing the sale, and then I can jump into the pool, or I could just do another sale if I can. So I'm not doing no in person. It's only online. All my leads and everything I get them online too. I don't touch the outside, which I should probably I should probably do is sales in person sales. I obviously disliked calling people. One of the things that I hated the most, and I don't like it right now, by the way, but now it's more manageable because I know it's business, but I just didn't like calling people. I was like, oh my God, I'm pretty good at it, at doing sales, but I just don't like it. I don't like picking up the phone and speaking to somebody. I'm a little bit of an introvert, you could say. At the beginning I was struggling, obviously, and like I mentioned before, I had to change the script. I had to make my own way, and I became the top salesman, by the way, with impressive numbers. That person that was a top salesman that I told you, they probably sold half or a little bit more than half of what I did on my first month, on their most impressive month. I thought that was super impressive. I broke the records; they were shattered within the first month of me joining. They froze. They stopped doing sales. They couldn't believe what I was doing. They just froze by seeing me run so fast. After I joined on my first month, they froze because they were looking at me and I was running so fast. They saw how fast I was just doing sales. And by the way, I was freed after so many years. Can you imagine? I really wanted this. So it wasn't like something that I was doing like optionally. I needed the money and I really wanted to do sales for the longest time. So I became the top salesman. That was me. In case you yourself are considering some sort of leap of faith and jumping into a new industry, jumping into sales, maybe, here's my advice. Because this is not financial advice, by the way. I just have to make that super clear. But I took a big risk. I would say just don't do it like me. Because me personally, I don't like plan Bs. I don't like cushion. I don't like middle grounds. I don't like to say, okay, at least I have this other job. I'm going to jump in here. I'm going to put my feet a little bit, 1 foot in the water, just to tip it. My tips there just to see how the water is. But I still have my other big leg on this nice base, which is a 9 to 5 job. I couldn't do that. I need to either be homeless or to make it. I don't, those are two extremes. I'm not going in the middle at all. That's just me though. And by the way, I just couldn't take it anymore. So I had that like, remember when I told you that I had discomfort working as an engineer, even though you could see that I was just doing amazing remote job, 110K, no boss. They were not checking me or anything, not calling me or nothing. The most perfect job you could ever have as a structural engineer. I couldn't do it, man. I just couldn't do it. So I had that fire. That's why I took the leap of faith. It was more like out of discomfort. It wasn't a choice that I made. I just had to do it. I could not take it anymore. You understand? I would say don't leave your 9 to 5 job unless with your side hustle you make enough to pay all your bills and you have 2 months saved up worth of bills and everything so you can survive 2 months, but you still have you still make at least enough to pay your bills and your part in your entrepreneurial job. That's when you leave your 9 to 5. When you can pay all your bills, not more than your bills, just enough to pay your bills, and you have 2 months reserved. That's one option. Now, if you're gonna leave fully without telling anybody and without making sure you're already making money somewhere else, then at least have 6 months saved up. And then on month number 5, you might want to start looking for jobs as well if you haven't made it yet, right? But at least you give yourself 5 months to give it a try, and 1 month is just to find out if you're gonna, or at least 2 months before you run out of money, or 1 month before you run out of money, you want to start looking for something for work. So did it work? Obviously, yes. Taking this leap activated my fight or flight mode, and I ended up creating more than 2 businesses though, by the way. I have other businesses that I run. I help other people too, by the way. I train people. I've trained over 200 people by now on sales and specifically this type of job. I train people on how to get their own clients online as well. Um, I'm a trainer too now. And I became a trainer, by the way, as soon as my second month, you know. I would have had higher sales, but I had to spend so much time training other people starting on month number 2 that I couldn't see my full potential. Unfortunately, because otherwise you would have probably seen 160,000 in sales on my first 5.5 months. But you didn't see that because I had to spend time training other people. Okay. But I do it now as well for a living. And I don't think I would want to go back to my 9 to 5 job. It's just, even though it's nice, I just feel like used. I don't know if that makes sense. I just feel like I don't belong there. It's not for me. You know it. Like my body knows it doesn't belong there. Okay. Now, should you do it? I would say, if you don't feel super uncomfortable, if you don't feel that fire inside, that like I can't do this anymore, but you truly like you cannot do it physically, doesn't allow you to do it, then it probably is for you because you're ready for that next move. But you have to put yourself in an uncomfortable position because if you don't have that fire, if you don't have that discomfort, then you're comfortable where you are and you should stay there and just grow in your career. Don't take this leap of faith because I said it. You know, you need to feel something inside and not just an excitement fire, like what I'm saying in the second line here. Um, it's not excitement. It's more like you're fired up because you are you have discomfort. You're uncomfortable where you are. You need to move. You're burning because there's a fire under you. You need to move somewhere else. That's, I would say, a sign that tells you, okay, you have to move somewhere else. If you're comfortable where you are, you're probably right. You're comfortable and you shouldn't move. But if you have that fire, you should probably do it. By the way, I'm not hiring anybody right now in that industry or any other industry. I do hire people often, but I do that separately, privately. But if you're interested, by the way, in getting into this industry, hit me up on IG. I can give you some pointers, some things to avoid, some things to do. And you can find me at Brian Herwin on Instagram. If you're already a salesman that is doing insurance, hit me up as well in case you want some tips. Um, I have a private group that I'm working with, but I am not hiring people right now. So don't feel I'm not hiring people. I just want to mention that. So, um, anyways, this was this video, and I hope you really got something out of it because this is one of my biggest stories. You know, going from this to this. I'm not like I didn't make millions of my first year, but can you see what a big jump it is to be making 1,500 a week after taxes to making 4,000 a week consistently? It's a big jump. You know, it's almost three times a jump, two and a half times a jump, and I think that was amazing. But I would just say, like, truly, if you want to do something like this, wait until you feel super uncomfortable because otherwise you're not going to do the work, you know, and you're just going to go back to work to a 9 to 5 again. So that's what I would say to you. And if you like this video, by the way, I would say, why don't you subscribe to my channel? I'm going to start making more videos on my experience in sales, how to get leads online, because that's what I know. Marketing, obviously. So I know how to do paid marketing, cold email marketing, all of that stuff. And I'm in other industries as well. So I'm going to be sharing that journey here with you guys. So if you want to keep in touch, just follow this YouTube channel. Yeah, we'll stay in touch. Like this video if you like it as well. Thank you.